Hello guys, it is me again, it's HorrorFan34, and welcome back to another video. And I promised you guys that I was going to do a couple reviews for today. So of course, the last video I did, I reviewed my favorite film of all time, Judgment Night. So the other review that I wanted to do for today is my second favorite film of all time, which is basically almost just like Judgment Night, but with females. And I'll show you what I mean by in a minute. Now, this was a film that I remember way back in like 2011, way back. I remember I was asking people like for recommendations of, films that were like Judgment Night, and this was one of the films that was mentioned. And I remember reading the plot for it, and I remember thinking to myself, basically it's like the film Judgment Night, but with female leads instead. So I think that's pretty cool. Hey, it's a female Judgment Night. I like to see this. Was lucky to get this DVD back on my birthday back in 2011. I got it for like $10. Try looking for this thing now. It goes for like $100. So this thing's really valuable. This DVD. It's out of print. But I remember when I first saw this film, I fell in love with this film. I hold this film in high regards with Judgment Night. I just love everything about this film. I think it's probably my favorite made-for-TV film, because this was a made-for-TV film. I think it was made on the USA Network. And I'll show you what it is right now. So, of course, that review is going to be on this. Survive the Night. Now, Survive the Night was also released in 1993, but this was a made-for-cable film, made for USA. I believe this was aired in January of '93. So it kind of makes me wonder if Judgment Night maybe got a little bit of a idea from this. Who knows? I mean, maybe Judgment Night came up on its own, and maybe they never even knew this film existed. Who knows? Sorry. Still getting over allergies. Excuse me. But this film is excellent. It's a really well done film. It's my favorite made-for-TV film. And basically getting into the idea of the story, there's a whole lot of other subplots in the film, which I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, because I don't want this review to be half of it taking up just explaining all the subplots. But I'll just break down what the general idea of the plot is. Basically, you have three women. You have Stefanie Powers, who you might know from the TV show Heart to Heart. Kathleen Robertson, who plays, you have Stefanie Powers as the mom. Kathleen Robertson, who is this girl on the cover, she is Stefanie Powers' daughter. And you might have seen her in, Scary Movie 2. And she was on like a TV show not too long ago, I think called The Boss with Kelsey Grammer. I could be wrong about that title of the show, but you've seen her in a couple things. And you have Helen Shaver as Stefanie Powers' sister, or Kathleen Robertson's aunt. Helen Shaver, Littlefoot's mom in The Land Before Time, Tremors 2, a lot of other stuff. But basically it's about those three women. Sorry. Getting over allergies. But they're basically in Brooklyn. It's Thanksgiving. They're having Thanksgiving dinner at a relative's house. One thing leads to another. They leave and they're on their way home. One thing leads to another. Julie, who is Kathleen Robertson, the daughter, finds out that they're running out of gas and they got to get gas. So then they take an exit off the expressway to find a gas station, and it turns out to be in a really rough part of town called Gravesend, which is basically a place where the police even fear to go to because it's a really dangerous area. They call it a really dangerous war zone. One thing leads to another. They get lost and they find a gas station, but of course the gas station's all abandoned and not open anymore. And then that's when they realize they're on a street gang's turf, and then the gang surrounds them, and their leader, Ice, played by Currie Graham, who you've seen in a lot of TV shows and a lot of other stuff. Basically, he's the leader. He doesn't like the fact that the women are on his turf. One thing leads to another. They try to get away because they almost kind of run out of gas, but they manage to start the car up again. They back up into one of the gang's bikes. Ice feels provoked by this and then decides that these women have to pay, and basically they're going to hunt them now. One thing leads to another. They eventually run out of gas, and they have to run on foot from the gang and hide out and survive the night. And that's pretty much what the film is about. Now, Survive the Night, I remember when I first saw this film, I remember when I first got this DVD, I remember it was really one of those things I was like, oh, bro, it's like a female Judgment Night. It wasn't until when I saw the DVD, I looked on the back of it, and I saw this quote from Shocking Videos. I don't know if you can see this. A femme version of Judgment Night. I thought that was so weird. It's like, I kind of thought the same thing and then said it on the back of the DVD. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, going into this film, you know, I think for a made-for-TV film, it's really, really well done. I think it has a really simple story. It has a really great, strong story. A lot of really good emotional scenes. I'm not going to spoil like what goes on in like this in the story and things like that, but because there's other like little subplots here and there that go along with the main story, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. But I will say the cast does a great job. You know, I think Stefanie Powers does a great job as the mom. Kathleen Robertson does great as the daughter. Helen Shaver, of course, you know, great. Tremors 2, among other stuff. She's great as the aunt. I tell you what, without a doubt, the biggest highlight of the film is Currie Graham as Ice. Currie Graham, believe this was his film debut. I believe this was the very first film he ever worked on. I'll tell you what, he gave a really great performance, in my opinion. I mean, this is a bad guy who I do not want to mess with. Like, especially in this one scene where it kind of like ties in with one of the little subplots where you have this younger kid who lives down in that area with his sick mother and his two younger siblings, and you know he gets recruited into the gang, but he's like the one that has a heart. But there's a point where because like he kind of knows one of Ice's gang members, and actually the gang member that he knows is Larry Gilliard Jr., who you might know as Bob Stookie on The Walking Dead nowadays, is one of the gang members. And now getting into what I was trying to say about Currie Graham as Ice, like this is a guy who I don't want to mess with. There's a scene where Larry Gilliard Jr. tells the younger kid that he talked to Ice about recruiting him into the gang and things like that. So there's a little back and forth going on with Ice and the younger kid, and he says like, "Is your name TJ 181?" And the kid's like, "Yeah," and he's like kind of looking down, and then Ice goes, "You look at me when I'm talking to you." That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a guy I don't want to mess with. He's like, "How old are you?" He's like, 15. He's like, 15? Don't you lie to me. You don't want to mess with this guy. He's cold, he's calculating, he's a great bad guy. I think he's my favorite villain in a film, ever. If you look back here, I think when I did like a little tour of my room, like this little picture over here, that's Ice from this movie. So, I think he does a great job, and for a film debut, I think he does a really great job. And the other cast members do a really good job as well. I like the whole, I like the use of lighting for a made-for-TV film, and it's actually pretty decently gory. Has some nice little blood shots for a made-for-TV movie. Directed by Bill Corcoran. I think he's done a lot of other TV work, and also too the musical score is done by Fred Mullen, who I think this was the same composer who did the music for Friday the 13th Part 7 and 8. And the musical score in this is great. I like the music in this film, when there's a point like when it's like in the gang's territory and it's like really dark out, and then when night falls, it's a down. Like I like I like that musical score that Fred Mullen does. It's really subtle, and it's really creepy, eerie music too. Especially like when the opening credits are rolling. Like there's a point when the credits are rolling, and then like in the very beginning, and showing all the actors' names after it says and introducing Currie Graham, and then you see his car, like the character's car pull up, and he like looks out the window with the sunglasses on, and he kind of gives this death glare, and like this is just the guy you don't want to mess with. He's really cold and calculating. He doesn't like being talked back to. This is a guy who won't take any crap from anybody, and he's just a great villain. And I just think he does a great job. But Survive the Night, it has everything going for it. It's a really well done movie for a made-for-TV movie. I like the cast. I like the story. I like the little bits of action. And even there's a point in the movie where, kind of similar to Judgment Night, where in the film Judgment Night, you had the guys going across like that ladder thing from rooftop to rooftop, and there's a scene similar to this where they have to go from roof to roof, and they find this like wooden plank, and it's like really like narrow, and they have to like walk really really carefully across. It's kind of like a balance beam, like in gymnastics, pretty much. That's a pretty cool scene to watch too. And there's a scene too when they go into the subway and they're on the train tracks and things like that. I'm not gonna spoil anything about that, but just check this film out for yourself. If you want to see a female version of Judgment Night, and if you're a big fan of the plot Judgment Night, and you want to see another film just like that, I would highly recommend this. Basically, a female version of Judgment Night, and I think it's a really cool one. Really cool. Wow, Judgment Night with females as the lead. Cool. Like, I want to see this, and I fell in love with this film. And I cannot recommend this movie anymore. And I can't recommend it more enough. I really can't. So that was pretty much it for my review for Survive the Night. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, take care.